You're on the side of the road during a routine traffic stop. You did everything right. You handed over your license and you politely declined to answer invasive questions. But just as the officer is writing you a ticket, he pauses, looks you up and down, and says the 6 words that freeze most people dead in their tracks. Mind if I pat you down? It sounds like a small request, maybe like he just wants to borrow a pen, but what you say in the next few seconds determines whether you keep your constitutional rights or lose them to an aggressive search. I'm Aden Starr, the people's lawyer, and in this video, I'm going to give you the exact words to say to a police officer when he wants to put his hands on your body, words that will keep you from escalating the situation while protecting your privacy. First, we have to identify the trap. When a cop says, "Mind if I pat you down real quick?" that is a consent trap. It's phrased as a polite question, specifically so that saying no feels like you're being rude or difficult. But don't let those words "real quick" fool you. A pat down isn't just a tap on the shoulder. It's an officer running his hands across your chest, your back, your waistband, and your thighs. If you say sure or even just shrug, the law considers that consent, and once they have consent, they can feel everything. If they feel a bulge in your pocket, like a bottle of prescription pills or a pocket knife, they will use that as probable cause to turn a quick pat-down into a full-blown search of your person and your car. Here's the key insight. If the cops are asking for your permission, it means they need it. If an officer truly had enough evidence to prove you were armed and dangerous, they wouldn't ask. They would just do it. Under the Supreme Court case Terry versus Ohio, an officer can only legally conduct a pat-down if he has reasonable, articulable suspicion that you are both armed and dangerous. A gut feeling or a hunch isn't enough. Furthermore, the case of Florida versus Bostic makes it clear that your consent must be voluntary, and your refusal to give that consent can never be used against you. Saying no is not suspicious, it is constitutional. So how do you say no to an armed officer standing 2 feet away from you? You use these exact words. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches of my person. I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm exercising my rights." This phrase is powerful because it's specific, and it disarms the officer by acknowledging you aren't trying to be a problem. You're just aware of your rights. If the officer pushes back and says he needs to check you for officer safety, don't argue. Use this backup script. "Officer, I understand you have a job to do, but I do not consent to a physical search. If you choose to pat me down without my consent, that is your decision, but I do not consent." This puts the legal burden entirely back on the officer to justify his actions in court later. If he ignores you and searches you anyway, do not resist. Stay calm, stay silent, and let the footage do the talking in the courtroom later. Memorizing these words is your legal insurance policy. But what happens if the cop finishes the pat-down and then says, "I think I smell weed"? That's a whole different trap, and I break down the exact words to stop that tactic in this next video, so click right here to watch it. I'll see you over there.